Hey guys, what's happening? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the video. Guys, I started playing this game 10 years ago at the very end of BC, and though I was not able to play the absolute vanilla form of WoW, end of BC and early Wrath was fairly similar to Classic, but was polished and more improved on many things, and in my opinion didn't take much away from the core gaming experience. And BFA is the first ever expansion in the past 10 years of me playing this game when I have leveled 4 characters back to back to level cap right after the launch. And I have not done this because I enjoy questing and leveling and that's not the reason. I've done this because there is absolutely nothing meaningful to do outside raiding once you hit level cap. And situation is really laughable. Blizzard has been on this crusade since Cataclysm to make things more and more accessible to players, to give more options to dumb things down, to make things easier and easier to the point that you can very well play this game as a single player without talking or interacting with any player. And what all this has led to is the dilution of the experience. Dilution of the experience of the core game, which makes an MMO an MMO. Changes which players at times accept as a simple quality of life change have had a lasting impact on the game. Some of the examples that I can talk about are addition of LFR, forced personal loot, absolutely dumbing down the classes and making them less and less differentiable, and the list goes on. The end result is that nowadays we do not have any memorable experience. Ask any player who has played the game for some time. Literally every player will tell you the stories from many years ago. Stories about back in the days. And they can literally recall moment by moment, word by word, and tell it to you how it actually happened. But they won't be able to recall what they did yesterday in the game, because all they are doing yesterday every day in the game is grinding, doing mindless word quest, nothing epic, nothing substantial, nothing worth remembering. And sadly, this is the current status of the game. The reason is that overall experience is so diluted that there is very little RPG in this MMO. Let me give you a very small example. When I started as a dwarf hunter, I didn't get a pet at the start, okay? I had to learn how to play my class for 10 levels and then was offered a quest to tame a pet. Not only I was supposed to keep the pet alive, but also make sure that the pet was happy by feeding my wolf the food he liked. Food he liked, you just cannot feed your pet anything. And even though it was just a pet in a game, we shared an absolutely fantastic bond. And when first time my pet died in game, my heart really broke, guys. And I cannot describe you my emotions when I had to abandon my wolf because I was supposed to tame a different pet. It was devastating. It was as if I was actually losing my friend. I was actually losing something. And all this happened 10 years ago, and I can still fucking recall it, because even though these things are very small, very, minute, they were actually what made this RPG an RPG. They were actually soul of the game, simple things. These small elements of role-playing made the game what it is, and not simply handing rares and purples left and right. They were class-specific quests. You had to actually read quests. Sometimes a simple quest would ask you to travel across the continent, and you had to figure out a way to go there. and your jaw dropped in awe at the sight of the new world and areas. The first time I entered Rathi Basin, I was scared of big spiders and dinos because I knew they would kill me if I went near them. And today, you can round up 50 mobs and AoE them down like it's nothing. Does it make game easy and accessible? Yes, indeed it does. But at the same time, it just dumps down the experience. Because now you're not doing anything worth remembering. You know, Legion was not a terrible expansion. I'm not saying that I liked everything about Legion, but there was a lot to do out of raids. In fact, once you finished leveling, once you hit level cap, there were 3 major arcs that you followed. One was making your artifact weapon stronger and stronger. Second was story of Illidan, Legion unfolding. And third was Suramar story, which literally started once you leveled the big story of Suramar. And while you were going about gearing up, running raids or dungeons or following the story, empowering your artifact weapon, they actually announced 7.1. And I was like, holy shit, man, we haven't even cleared the current content. Are you crazy? The content was actually overwhelming. And again, like I said, I'm not saying that everything about Legion was beautiful, but there was actually a lot to do outside your regular raiding. And here we are in BFA. Once you hit level cap, there is literally nothing meaningful to do. Island expeditions are dog shit. There is no hook to it. The mounts never drop. Why exactly should I even bother with it? And the worst thing was Warfronts. Hear me out. When they actually announced BFA, I actually thought Warfronts were going to be something like PvP, similar to MOBA style gameplay like Smite or League of Legends, where your group will have some units and you will compete for resources against enemy players to empower your units, NPCs and tanks and whatnot, to bring their towers down. Guys, how fucking cool this would have been if they would have copied their Heroes of the Storm formula into Warfronts. But look what we got. You can literally spend entire Warfront game hiding in one of the buildings and nobody would give a shit. It's like free loot. Okay, Warfronts are literally free loot bonanza to level your arts to a set gear level. It's pathetic. It's useless. And after you are done doing that shit for few times, after you get all the gear, there is no point to doing it. Like, do you really think there is fun in doing Warfronts? I don't get it. BFA, it is designed for a player to spend more time playing the game, but unfortunately no effort was spent on making that time spent enjoyable. Everything is now a casino slot machine. You can run Mythic Plus dungeons, spend hour or more, end up getting absolutely nothing out of the chest. Why even bother joining a guild? Just play the single player and pug the raids. I still remember saving my DKP for 2-3 months during ICC. I waited for the drop of Deathbringer's Will in ICC. And when it dropped in our raid, I was able to bid for it and I was sure that I'm going to get it. But you can't do that shit anymore. Community experience is all-time low. Do you know, back in the days, people literally knew every other major person on the server if they have spent some time on it. People knew which guilds were the best, who runs best pugs, which is the top player of your class on the server, which you should look up to, and which ninja to avoid. I can still recall the name of top Alliance and Horde guilds on my old server, and it's been like 10 years. I can still recall the name of the top players, especially of my class. And I can't even start to share my disappointment of how things are today. Yes, we have LFR now and random dungeons and CRZ, and all that has made the game easier, more approachable, convenient, but at the heavy cost of diluting the community experience. We want to play the game, but Blizzard need to make content that attracts us, that entices us to play the game and not forces us to play the game. Introduction of Azurite armor might sound cool on paper, but is it defining feature of the game that would make us play more? Hell no. But Blizzard thinks it does because they want us to have separate pieces for each spec. Not only you don't know when any piece will drop that is best for your class, you have to grind the Azurite power to unlock the traits. And not for one piece, but for 3 pieces for each spec. God bless you if you like playing different specs, which many people actually do. This worked okay in Legion when we only had one weapon, and that weapon was special and had more lore behind it, and as you level up you open the powers, and as much as the grind sucked, it still felt a little bit meaningful experience. Not the fucking random trash that we get from dungeons. Like, do we even know what is the name of gear that drops? We cannot even recall any iconic name from the gear that is dropping these days. This is not meaningful content. This is absolutely trash game design, which is repetitive and boring and has lackluster appeal to it. Blizzard wants us to spend entire expansion hunting for those random drops and then their socketed and Titanforge or Warforged versions. The grind never ends. There is no end goal. You can't set your eyes on something and feel good when you have achieved it. And if that's the case, why the fuck should I care? Suddenly everything becomes meaningless. No wonder so many people have quit the running endgame content. Because game has become a meaningless grind with random slot machine rewards. Why can't Blizzard make content that is meaningful? A challenge that has a reward that feels good when you overcome it. Not get disappointed because though we got the top eye level piece, it still is worse than the lower level gear due to the bad traits. And we still have to spend shitloads of time mindlessly grinding the AP. Once you hit the level cap, you would be lucky if you spent questing in all zones, because if you didn't, you still have to quest in different zones to reach friendly with 3 factions to unlock the world quests. These world quests are utterly useless. These faction grinds are utterly useless because you can easily run basic mythic dungeons to get same or higher level gear than that you would get from these factions by running world quests and gaining reputation. On top of that, the mount rewards are fucking different colored horses for Alliance. This is not a joke, but slap on the face. Why would I even bother? You know, if you remember Mists of Pandaria, once you hit level cap, there were faction grinds, okay? And people were complaining, okay? There were so many world quests which you needed to do to gain reputation with these factions. But at that time, I still remember, you sucked it up. You know, you were like, you know what, fuck it, I'll do it. You know why? Because the rewards from these factions, they were actually meaningful because you would actually use those rewards in your raiding. But in BFA, these rewards are meaningless. Why should I even care? But here, the hook is that, yeah, you know, grind the rep because you needed to unlock flying at a later stage in the game. So, you know, and there's nothing else to do, so might as well do it. In the past, I was neutral to the thought of WoW Classic. But the way WoW has become over the years and how bad BFA turned out to be, I want to press the reboot button. I want to go back to WoW where role-playing existed, where the world around you mattered, where the interaction with other players were meaningful, where you had to CC mobs while leveling, join others in the group quests, and even the quest rewards used to be meaningful upgrades, where you were always excited to learn new abilities when you leveled and wondered which will be the best place to put your talent point. You had all the freedom. The point is not that the game was hard, But whatever experience you had in the game was a rich experience, whether it was feeding your pet, or eating after every little battle while questing, or taking a boat to the other continent. That's why at this moment I want to play WoW Classic more than ever. I have already purchased the BlizzCon ticket and I will be one of the first folks to log into the Classic server to enjoy the game. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. If you liked the video, please like the video and subscribe. I'll be making tons of more videos. I've already written down the content that I'll be making, and more videos will be coming in the next days. Alright guys, take care and have a good one. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.